Can you believe we started Interview Boss in 2021?
Not really. It's insane. That's a lot of episodes and a lot of hours of talking.
Oh my gosh, it is. And if you're scrolling through all of our episodes, you might scroll straight past something that you really, really needed.
Yes, we're always getting messages from people asking us to do an episode on something, and I'm like, we already have.
So we've put together playlists to help you find the episodes that are exactly what you need, suited to your situation.
They're all categorized. If you're applying for jobs, we have episodes about resumes, cover letters, job ads. If you've been offered your dream job, we have episodes on resigning, exit interviews, and how to impress at your new company.
And we even have a very special playlist that's very popular for if you have an interview coming up immediately and you need just our most recommended hard-hitting episodes between now and then.
For all our last-minute listeners. It's all there for you. You can browse by category and check out all the playlists at interviewboss.com.au/podcast.
Over a portion of the people, young people who spoke to, have been searching for over a year for a role, which of course is a very long time.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Interview Boss. My name's Emma, and guess what? I'm a radio journalist, and I've teamed up with my sister to give you advice, inspiration, and support when you're looking for a new job. Sarah's a HR and recruitment professional, and together we're excited to give you guys all the tips, tricks, and behind-the-scenes knowledge to help you in your career.
Hey, Em, what an awesome intro that was.
Yeah,
it's official.
Mic drop. It's official. Well, you know, I still am technically a third-year journalism student. I have about 3 weeks to go, but we're just, you know, that's gone out. I'm a radio journalist. I'm a top doggy. I've made it.
You've been on the air
Intro
already.
officially changed. Yeah.
Awesome. So this week's Shoot Your Shot shout out goes to Heidi. She found our podcast just in the nick of time when she had an interview booked in, and she listened to our episode, The Best Way to Prepare for a Job Interview, when she was in the car on the way home. And she really loved hearing us discuss the response to the weakness question, and loved our suggestions for asking questions at the end about the company culture and things like that. So she got a call back to ask her in for a second interview 4 hours after the first one finished. So
they loved her.
She must
That's
have done
impressive.
so well, right? Second interview will be with the business owners, so kind of like second stage. So good luck with that, Heidi. I hope you absolutely nail the second one, and congratulations on doing so well in the first.
That is so bloody cool. If you liked one of our episodes, used a tip we sent you, or you want to request an episode specifically on your situation or industry, slide into our DMs. And if you have an interview coming up, don't forget you can check out Sarah's one-on-one sessions. You can find out all about it at www.interviewboss.com.au/coaching. Did I say too many W's?
Yeah, you did.
It's meant to be...
Just the 3 W's.
www.
Just the normal amount of W's.
I just got excited. Anyway, the
and
World
if
Wide
there's-
Web.
because we're global, we've got such a global listenership.
We're
If the
global.
time zones
Mr.
don't work for
Worldwide.
you, email us and let us know. And I can try and squeeze you in somewhere around
Sarah
my
will
work.
get up at the crack of dawn for you. Like,
I
we're
really
committed.
will.
We're
I really
committed to getting you the job.
I'm not going
If we
to.
have to get up at Sparrowfart, we will.
Yeah, I'm not going to
Also,
look good in the
international
morning, but I will do it.
International listeners might be like, what did Emma just say? Because I said sparrowfart. That's Aussie slang for
Early in the
getting
morning.
up at the crack of dawn.
Yeah.
Sparrowfart. It's when the sparrow farts. It's a little bird. I don't know what
Where
it.
does
I don't
that
know.
come
Just
from?
anyway. I don't know, but anyway, American listeners, start saying it. It'll catch on. So this week we have a very special guest joining us today, the CEO of Talent Rise, Karen Graham. Talent Rise is a charity committed to changing the lives of young people who've experienced barriers to employment by providing education, training, life skills and opportunities to help them gain independence and purpose through meaningful work. Welcome, Karen. Thanks so much for being on today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Can you start off by telling us a little bit about Talent Rise and what you do?
Yes, so Talent Rise is actually the charitable foundation sitting within Talent International, which is a big global tech recruitment business. And Talent Rise has been around for about 6 years now. And the inception was really around recognising the challenge with youth unemployment and how a lot of young talent is actually going to waste. So really thinking about as an organisation, a business in that recruitment space, it was kind of beholden on us to try and do something about that. So Talent Rise is really around providing life-changing opportunities for people with barriers to employment. We do that through education, training, opening doors, and providing opportunities through working with our employer partners to give young people a break and a hand up.
Yeah, awesome. I actually love that you're a part of a recruitment company, because we've actually done an episode on recruitment agencies and what they do. And obviously it's a commercial model. And if you're someone who has barriers to employment, a recruitment agency traditionally isn't someone who's going to be able to help you. Because you're also then going to come with a fee to that employer. So I really love the idea of, working on the other side of the coin on a not-for-profit basis to help those people in a different way. So you recently held a day you called Rise Day and produced a report. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Rise Day, it was our first Rise Day this year, and the idea really is to take the whole of the global talent team and really give back for the day. So we actually sort of down tools as a wider business. And on the day, we spoke to over 450 young people who registered for the day and really gave them advice around job seeking, CVs, sort of mentoring, coaching, anything they really wanted some help with. And importantly, listen to them as well. There's a lot of young people struggling at the moment. So actually just listening and showing some empathy. And then really just giving them, some coaching and support in areas that was really going to help them with their job search was kind of what the team did on the day.
And it's recruiters who are in touch with employers, and they really, know what employers want, right? So it's not as if career coaches who aren't in the industry. They're people who know exactly, what might help.
Yes, I think that's the kind of great thing about it. It was actually kind of leveraging the skills that they're using every day and bringing them to bear with people who perhaps really don't always have access to that knowledge and that skill, to give them some really practical and helpful advice, and through that as well, just potentially recognise things they can do to kind of get a role with some of the businesses that we're talking to regularly as well.
And what did the report findings show?
Well, I think there were probably three key themes that emerged from it, really. The first one, I think, is not a surprise that there really is a bit of a youth employment crisis. There are a lot of young people who are really struggling. So over a quarter of the young people we spoke to had been searching for over a year for a role, which of course is a very long time in a young person's life. So there really are people who are really struggling to get that first break. And I think for some of those people as well, it's a little bit of a vicious circle. They're not always getting any feedback, so they're applying for lots of jobs, but don't always get any feedback. So they're kind of not learning, and they haven't got the support. So they're not quite sure how to move forward sometimes. What's going wrong? Is it the way they're searching for a job? Is it how they're putting together their CV? For those who get interviews and then don't hear back, it's kind of the risk is, of course, a real lack of confidence then. So that was a key theme. I think another kind of key area that came out is really entry-level roles are often not entry-level. So
we've talked about that before, how they're actually not really entry-level at all, which can be really misleading and frustrating for these young people that are like, it's entry-level, why can't I even get an entry-level job?
Yes. And I think, that's sometimes, one of the things we wanted to do with this report was highlight some issues for employers as well. Sometimes it is about taking a chance. And for some of these young people, they've just, they've got fabulous competencies and potential, but actually just, haven't got that kind of tick in the box around experience. So we really heard from young people how that is a struggle for them. And just getting a chance to actually demonstrate the skill that they have got more broadly that they can bring to bear is really tough. And I guess, the final thing was really actually, we're obviously a Talent International focus, particularly on digital and tech recruitment. It's in that space. And we actually discovered that, the tech industry, there's a lot of young people really keen to reskill in tech. Yeah. I think the young people we spoke to, about over nearly 90% were kind of keen could see that as a great future and were keen to potentially reskill. But funnily enough, the tech industry is one area where it's actually really hard to get an entry-level role. So
yeah, it is, because things move so quickly.
Yeah. And, and because of that, people are looking for some kind of basic, experience that people will build on. And because things are moving quickly, perhaps you have less time to train people. It's a kind of, it's a struggle.
But then there's big skills shortages and, a huge fight for talent. So it's kind of ironic, really.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what we're certainly in talent, noticing. There's a huge demand. There really is, so much demand for roles. And yet we seem to have this pool of people who are, struggling to get in, who would bring so much, given, they're digital natives, they're just, everything about them is kind of geared up to think differently and would, bring so much value.
So young people have been disproportionately affected in world unemployment numbers with, layoffs due to COVID over the past 2 years. And we're facing a bit of a youth unemployment crisis. What did you find were the main barriers to people actually, getting a job or getting employed?
I think the biggest barrier probably we heard was around this lack of experience. Just not feeling that they had something, the hard experience that was sometimes asked for, and maybe, perhaps not having the confidence to look at a job ad and think about all the things they do bring to it. So I think for young people, potentially they deselect themselves because they kind of think, well, I haven't got that experience, and perhaps aren't looking at all the experience or relevant transferable skills they might have.
What do you always say to that?
Yeah, shoot your shot. Even if you're a bit underqualified, you just have to go for it, because honestly, that's how I've got nearly all the jobs that I've had, just by pure going for it, and it works. Like, you've got to believe in yourself for sure.
Yeah. And I think we discovered that, that is, confidence is a challenge actually for lots of the people we work with particularly. So it's a little bit of a
year. I mean, that confidence, that rejection really takes its toll.
Yeah, it's also that catch-22 of, you need experience, but how do you get experience when everyone wants experience? Really tough.
That first job is always the hardest one to get.
Yeah. And that's what we say, we try and talk to employers about that, even giving a young person a sort of, a paid internship, it is invaluable, that, because it gives them some currency when they're next at an interview. It gives them some experience to talk to.
Something to talk about.
Yeah.
And did you find that there were any common job search frustrations among the young people that you spoke to? What was sort of the biggest thing that they were really struggling with?
I think the sense that they're applying for so many jobs and they just disappear into the ether. This, never getting any feedback, and even, when they've had interviews, potentially still not having feedback. Is really hard, because they're sort of, that leads to a lack of confidence, but it equally doesn't allow you to grow and learn. And think what you might do.
You can't really move on.
No.
Yeah, and it's a hard problem, because I've been on the other side of that, right, where you're an internal recruiter and, the amount of requisitions you've got, the amount of open jobs you've got means that it's really hard to give that kind of feedback and to do that at scale. And I saw something interesting lately on LinkedIn, which is something that I'd actually kind of thought of doing previously when I was working on, huge volumes of roles, is putting an option in your rejection email of saying, if you're really struggling and you want, a 5-minute feedback session, book in a time with me. Because I have found that some people don't actually want to engage, and they kind of know, I wasn't really qualified for that job anyway, I'm just moving on. But there are some people who go, actually, I really need to know what it was, and I want to hear from this company because this was the one that I thought I was going to get, or this was my dream job or whatever. And it then allows, for people who really want that feedback to do that, and you can kind of cap it in your calendar, right? You put an hour or so aside a week. So that's my challenge out there to recruiters, is to think about whether you can do something like that so that it's scalable. You don't have to talk to everyone. You can't, in fact. But it gives people who are really desperate for some feedback an option.
I think that's a fabulous idea, Sarah. I think that's right, because it's not for everybody. For some people, and you can imagine for those people who've kind of been out there looking for 6 months to a year, you really are craving something, some guidance around what you might be able to do differently, and some tips or tricks on how you might have stood out more from the crowd, or what might be holding you back.
Yeah. And so you touched on it before, but Rise specialise in the tech industry, which is really fast growing and has a huge demand for skills. But is it easy to start a career in tech? What are some of the pathways in?
I mean, interestingly, for some of the young people we work with, that's kind of not where it starts. So I think one of the things we always say is you learn something from any job you do. So for some of the young people that we work with, they've perhaps, worked in McDonald's or KFC and done a few years there. Maybe you're looking to go into an IT help desk or something. And actually, there's huge transferable skills that they've actually got. Around customer service, sort of attention to detail, all sorts of things that actually are really valuable. I mean, we do also, lots of organisations do this, but through Rise, obviously, we partner with people that help with digital upskilling, that give young people some more kind of strings to their bow, I suppose, to some tech skills that they can use and talk to, and we certainly help them think about kind of what they have done and what they're passionate about and how that could be applicable to what's required in a workplace. So, young people who have really been into kind of gaming and things, or how does that help you? Rather than seeing that as something over here that, on the side, it's actually something that kind of has, it gives you an aptitude for certain things.
And I mean, a lot of gamers build their own PCs, right? Like that's really valuable experience for like a help desk role, talking to people about how to use their hardware and stuff. And again, like you say, that customer service piece, not every, tech-focused person who has the knowledge has the customer service. And if you've got end users... if you've got end users who really struggle with their technology, you've got to be really patient and really good with explaining things.
Yeah, that's so true. And that's certainly, and I think sometimes for the young people we work with, they haven't really kind of spotted that connection. They see perhaps this first job as just something that they're doing, it earns them some money. And sort of, we often talk to young people about transferable skills, actually, around what have you gained from that, and how would that add value? If we look at this job ad or this opportunity, sort of getting them to really think about how these two things actually could be linked in terms of what is this job looking for, and how is what you have done, fit with that, so that you really can sort of sell yourself. Rather than just, it's a thing on my CV, it's actually something that is helping me and would help this organisation, if I joined them.
Definitely. And on the note of tech, women are drastically underrepresented in STEM. What can the industry do you think, to start shifting that pattern?
It's interesting. We, as Talent, have recently done a survey with Women in Tech, Are We There Yet? Which I don't know whether you've had a chance to see, but interestingly, it sort of had a massive overlap with what we found out, because funnily enough, when we did our piece of work and our Beyond the Figures report, we discovered that whilst a lot of people wanted to retrain in tech, women were far less likely to want to do that. And I think that's partly because women don't really see themselves. They don't see themselves particularly in tech. So I think there's a number of things that can happen. I think industry has a role at school level, I think, to kind of inspire young women, young girls into kind of STEM subjects, and help them see themselves in those kind of jobs. And I think tech is so broad as well. I think that's the other interesting thing, actually, offering opportunities of work experience in tech businesses, which can be anything from a tech business that's doing HR for businesses. It's not always just hardcore kind of coding. There's tech has so many broad applications across everything. So I think sort of seeing industry helping young women see tech more broadly, and how tech is applicable to everything from marketing to HR to some of the other areas that might ultimately feel more appealing. Is kind of providing work experience and opportunities to actually see the breadth of that. And I think the other thing is mentors, actually. I think something that's really powerful that we really learn, with young people and creating sustainable careers is having those people that they get advice from that can help them. So I think women in the industry kind of really supporting and mentoring younger women is a really important element of kind of encouraging more young women into tech.
You've had mentors.
I have, yeah, and my favorite singer actually, Mole Rat, who I'm a diehard fan. She is in the music industry. At her concerts, she always talks about like representation and how, because she produces all her songs and she brings her road crew with her, and she has all female, lighting people, DJs, like strictly female, and she always gives this little spiel at the end, and she says, and like my rock star team of women, because you can't be what you can't see. And I just love that, because you can't be what you can't see. You need representation matters, and you need to have good mentors to be able to envision yourself in those positions as well.
Yeah, that's so true, Emily. It really makes a huge difference. And a little goes a long way, I think, actually. It doesn't, it just being able to see those people and just, sort of, see possibility. Really kind of opens people's eyes to what I could do actually.
And you're right. It comes down to you've got to get that interest early, because if you catch someone in year 11 or 12, they've already set themselves on a particular path with their subject choices, and they've maybe missed out on some prerequisites for uni degrees, and it then becomes a lot harder to go down that STEM path. So you've got to inspire that interest kind of in early high school, really, I think. And there's a couple of programs that I've been involved with previously that try to do that for people. Not women in particular, but just everyone in general, to kind of say, if you want a career in this area, you're going to have to start thinking about that now, to keep that door open for yourself.
Yeah, and we've had one of the things that we've sort of done successfully is have kind of employer workshops. So we'll an employer will sort of set something up, and young people will come in and we'll have a day where they'll suddenly actually see the breadth of what those jobs could be. Which is a fabulous opportunity to actually kind of open their eyes to possibilities. Get a chance
just even breaking down what each job means, right? Like from the outside as someone who's not technical, I've done a little bit of tech recruitment, and as soon as you kind of discover, that's actually a really interesting role that you've got there, even though it's got a very technical name, there might be a bit of creativity involved, a bit of automation. So I think understanding what it even means is really important too. So what's your biggest piece of advice for employers? Because they're one of the, the groups that can really help address this crisis. What are some of the things that they might be able to do?
I think fundamentally, we kind of say, give young people a chance. I think our real call out base of this report is really think about what could be an entry level role in your organization, and where can you take a chance, and where can you create an opportunity for people with less experience, and really just be prepared to give someone that opportunity and accept that actually you can do a lot of training on the job. For many young people, that they've got a lot of potential. They may not have the kind of the credentials or the experience at this point, but they've kind of got the right skills and competencies to be successful. And actually, I guess our kind of encouragement to employers is recognise there's potential, recognise that these young people bring a tremendous amount of benefit to your organisation in terms of diversity of thinking, innovation, digital sort of savviness, and actually be prepared to kind of back them. And then acknowledge that there'll be training to be done on the job, but that's you've got the kind of rough diamond, I guess, and then you kind of really help.
I think one of the big arguments against not taking on someone who's entry level is obviously that it takes quite a lot of time and energy to do the on the job training when you're not starting with someone who's done the role before. But my suggestion is, find someone who, wants to progress in their career, who's experienced, but kind of not ready for that next manager level step yet. And it can be a development opportunity for them to be able to train someone else, start practicing some of those management coaching skills. And you've kind of ticked two boxes in one go. You're developing a young person, but you're also giving a progression opportunity to a member of your team who, can be your succession plan.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, often young people, if they come in and they learn and they grow, they become, they really become loyal to the organization. They, they really, that you kind of, for an organization taking a young person, then training them, you're training somebody to be part of your team for the long term, and they're, training them the way I guess you want things done. And there's all sorts of advantages in actually having that opportunity to work with someone and upskill them in kind of your way.
I mean, a young person's probably going to be more loyal than a big top dog that might just see that as a next step. Or and on the
you're
flip
in
side
that position right now. Like how do you feel about your employer? They've taken you on kind of more junior than maybe what they would
huge.
Someone else.
This is the first time they've ever hired a graduate. Like, they've always had very experienced people. So I feel so grateful for that, because that's just so amazing. But even they've said, like, it's great because a lot of people, there's so many ways to do the job, and a lot of people come from different organizations with different, ways of doing things. And it's great that, like, I'm just a little piece of clay and they get to just mold me exactly how they want me to be. So it's an advantage for everyone, really. And I'll probably be there for long term. So
you're a blank slate.
I'm a clean canvas.
And that's the win. That's the win, really, isn't it? I think actually there's it's giving someone an opportunity, for which that's a great opportunity, and you get the chance to really have the satisfaction of developing a young person, in your way of doing things as well, and get all the benefits of that.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's the other thing I think we recognise is young people thriving is important for all of us. All of our futures, we it's beholden on all of us really to work out how we can really support younger people and give them a break and give them a chance, because actually they are the future. And it's going to be really important that we look for ways to actually ensure that they get that first chance and that first opportunity.
Yeah. And on the flip side of that advice, what's your best piece of advice for the young people that are struggling to find work in this climate?
I think there's something about having to persevere. You say to young people, you do. It is a bit of a numbers game. You do have to kind of keep going. Send out CVs. Try and find a kind of a mentor, someone to help you. Think about your network. Who do you know? Do you know anybody who's doing similar jobs to the ones you're interested in? Can you talk to them? What can you learn? Really think about your transferable skills. What have you done in school, in a sports club, when you've been, volunteering? What are all the things you've done, and what could that give you? So when you look at a job ad, you actually think about your broader experience, and not just kind of any work experience, but what actually can you also bring to the table to really help you stand out in terms of the things that the job is actually asking for.
Awesome. And to kind of round us out here, what services does Rise offer for young people, and where can they find them?
Well, Talent Rise basically runs a kind of various, I guess, work readiness initiatives and programs. So we have workshops, as I mentioned, sometimes with employers, sometimes we run them internally. We do coaching and mentoring, and we have access to training, some digital and other sort of training avenues. So young people can find us at talentrise.org through our website and register interest. We're obviously also Talent Rise on all the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, etc.
Awesome.
And really,
we'll have to follow you.
To reach out and yes, obviously there's other organisations like ours, but we're really committed to seeing how we can support young people. Just to give them, I guess, the confidence and the skills to be successful in their first roles.
Amazing. I think that's everything from our end. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think just, I guess to reiterate, I guess we believe there's so much potential in young people and really for employers, to give them a chance. I think it's there's everything to gain and nothing to lose by taking a chance on a young person and just seeing if you can leverage that potential.
Oh, love it. Thank you so much for
Amazing.
joining us today, Karen. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and thanks for sharing all of your expertise.
It's been
Yeah,
very
I'm
nice
sure
to
everyone
meet
will find that super valuable.
Yeah,
thank you so
and
much.
feel validated as well that they're not alone. Thanks so much for listening to Interview Boss. If you like hearing the sound of our voices, hit that follow button in Apple or Spotify, or better yet, tell someone about the show and help them land their dream job. That's how we hit the charts and we can help even more people. For more advice, inspiration, and a supportive community, check us out on Instagram at InterviewBoss.
If we've been your job search besties and helped you in some way, there's a cool way you can support the show. Shout us a virtual coffee.
We get a huge kick out of reading all of your success stories. Head to buymeacoffee.com/interviewboss and shout us a cuppa.
If you keep us caffeinated, we can keep the content coming.